Welcome everybody to that was an abrupt ending. I'm going to fix that. Welcome everybody to the Life Between All or Nothing. We'll explain what that means in a minute, but it's with Scott J. That's me and Mary Kay. And we could not start. This is our first show. We could not start it without the person who brought us together, Lynn Serrano.
Hey guys,
Yay.
two people that I love. How about that?
We love you.
We do.
This is awesome. This is great. I think Scott meant to surprise me with this, but when I found out you guys were going to do a show together, I was just so tickled pink, truly tickled pink, and I was just happy to have you on the Lynn and Brian show. And
Thank you.
You're just adorable, and this is just great. And the world needs to see more Mary Kay.
Oh, thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
No,
now the amazing thing is that I'm in Florida. Mary Kay's outside of Toronto, up in Pickering, and that's another country in Canada,
Yeah.
or as my friends down here call it, Canada. And Lynn, you're out in Montana.
Yep.
And dare I say, we're all suffering through the winter together.
Oh, let's throw something at him suffering. Right now. Oh my gosh, he's just trying to get my attention there.
It's in the high 70s right now. It's a little chilly.
Oh.
Yeah. And then she goes with Fahrenheit.
No, she goes with Celsius. We're
Celsius.
Fahrenheit.
I mean, we're
that's
so
right.
It's always trying to figure that between the time zone people and our temperature stats. We always got it confused around here.
So anyway, let's explain to everybody the Life Between All or Nothing. Mary Kay and I talked about this at length, and about what we're trying to represent. What we're trying to represent is the fact that everybody's always waiting till they have everything, or they're always thinking about having nothing, and there's always that jump between the extremes. And what we fail to realize is all of our life occurs in the middle of all those things. And in the middle of all those things is where all your changes happen too. And so this show is really dedicated to people who are stuck, people who, we're not talking about like in your 20s and you can't figure out what you want to do. I mean, that's normal. I was a moron when I was in my 20s. I mean, an absolute moron. But, and even before that, Lynn can attest to that. She knew me in my teens. I was a moron in my teens.
Speaking of teens, I'll tell you, one day his sister let me in the house and he had bunk beds and he had a fishing pole and he's just like casting in his room. Do you remember that? You're like,
love it.
I remember that as a story we were never going to tell.
No, I never signed anything. So
I was too young to figure out contracts at the time.
Hi, Karen.
But we're talking specifically to people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even, who are looking at their lives, their relationships, their jobs, and everything else. And you are looking at three people who have gone through that at a point in their lives when you're thinking you're supposed to have all your shit together and saying, I got to make a change. Right, Mary Kay? I mean, we've done this.
Yeah, we've done this. I've done it a few times for sure. And I think people in their 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s even, we come with a lot of stuff.
I'm glad you said that because Ron said, is this going to be a comedy hour? He said, don't forget the 60s. So I'm glad you just said even 60s. Yes.
See, even 60s. I knew you were here, Ron, and thank you for coming, Ron. One of, you've never-ending support from my friend Ron. So yeah, in midlife, we come with a lot of stuff, and that's the bad news. And then the good news is we come with a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
We have experience, we have experiences, we've seen things, we've done things, we've been around the block a few times, and sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit that we do have all this experience behind us. And hopefully we're going to be here to encourage and empower and enable people to see themselves perhaps the way that we would see them.
Well, I think people forget though that it's a toolbox. All our experiences are a toolbox, and it's just, and they're anchored in different places where you've used different things in your life. So what's nice is, I changed my name from my birth name to a different name. Scott knew me as a different name, and then I changed my name. I mean, I've moved to different schools. Scott did the same thing. I mean, it just, you got to reinvent yourself. Your skin changes every 7 years. You get a whole new body skin type of thing. I'm 57, so I'll have to figure that out. But the point is that you got to change. I mean, everything changed. Everything is constant, and it's going to change whether you like it or not. I mean, I can't stop where I'm at with the aging process, but your mind is always as young as you feel. And so, realize if something's not working for you, don't be stuck there. You don't have to be stuck. There's a lot of inspiring people out there that can motivate you or give you a different, every day you have a chance to have a new canvas, and Scott's mom paints, and she does a different canvas all the time. She's very talented, and so does Scott. So, it just really, I love that you have a show like this because, you all or nothing. Really, just remember this. Don't worry if you're going to fail. Don't worry if you don't feel like you're good enough at anything, because at least you said you tried and you did something. You're never going to know what you can't do if you don't try it, so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Got a couple of people. Karen Hurley's with us, my business partner and best friend. She says she agrees at 60s for a fine time to make changes in your life. Ron says he wouldn't have missed the show. And of course, this lady, Lynn knows her, and Mary Kay has not had a chance to meet her yet. This is my mom.
Nice to meet you, Mom.
Oh, she's the best. Love her.
There we go.
Is Scott stuck?
Yes,
he's stuck.
Really is. And
yeah.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
You're running a little slow.
All right. We're good. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure what goes on here with the signal. I'm trying to get that fixed. But anyway, here we go. So that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about making changes. We want to know your stories. We want to know if you're stuck, if you feel stuck. I guess let's talk about that stuck moment, because we've all had that. I had it in a marriage, and I've had it in jobs where I've sat there and said, I really wanted to do something different, but I thought I've invested too much in this, and if I leave, I'll start over with nothing. And that was always my concern. Did you guys ever feel that?
Well, being in a marriage that was just filled with wonderful domestic violence stuff, which I didn't know it entailed so much. I just thought that was life at the time. The thing is that you just think you can handle what you've got, but you don't realize sometimes it's got to get bad enough where you're at to try something new and realize how stuck you were, and not be fearful, because you realize how worse can anything else be than what you're already in. And people don't look at the bright side of things. When you are stuck, that means, okay, stop thinking about being stuck. Instead, think of the things you can do. It's just like if you wake up in the morning, you stump your toe. I don't know about you, but if I stump my toe, I'm always thinking of something else so that I don't feel the pain, So it's like idea. That. It's like that, There's a lot of times I just look at at what's at the end of the tunnel, happiness, better than where I'm at now. Kind of
Absolutely. Thing. Edie Polly, my friend Edie, is saying yes, and she agrees you're making a great point. Edie Polly is also another one of my friends who's an artist, and she not that long ago, she took a chance and she started doing art, and now she's doing galleries and shows, and she's very killing talented. It. And she's also one of the funniest, nicest people you're ever going to meet. So she's awesome. Edie, love you. Thank you for being here. But Mary Kay, I mean, same story with you. You've had those moments where it's just like you want to make the change, but you don't know if you can, or you're afraid.
Have, yeah, definitely, Scott. I think, same as the two of you. Marriage. I was in a marriage that was not working.
Right.
Just generalize that to not working, and I was stuck. I thought I was stuck. I didn't know that I could. I didn't have the confidence in myself that I could get out. I didn't know what it would look like for me to get out. I just didn't understand. And the same thing with jobs. I mean, I'm on my third corporate career now, and especially between my second one and this one, I just wasn't. I felt. I was gonna say I felt stuck. It felt like, oh my God, I'm here. This is really not working within my own core values, even though I fought for that role. I studied for that role. I became a licensed person in that role. And then when I got there, I just wasn't fitting with my core values. And I think sometimes our values change over time. And I think that role would have fit at the time, but then my core values changed, or the way I prioritized my core values changed. And so once I realized that, then it was like, oh my God, now what? And I think a lot of people get into that now what stage and they wonder, is this all there is? And well, no, this is not all there is. There's more. And, this show hopefully is going to be something that helps people understand that there are a million possibilities out there and you can choose something different. You can choose. We have the choice.
Well said. And I love your point about our values change over time, because just because we feel stuck doesn't mean we got into a bad situation. We got into a situation that was right at the time. But as we grow and our values change and our hierarchy of needs becomes different, if you're not with the right person or the right job that flows in the same direction, all of a sudden it's like there's this separation. You don't feel like you belong there anymore. It's not your fault. It's sometimes it's normal. We go through life changes. You spend your childhood trying to be what everybody around you tells you to be. Your parents define who you are, your friends at school define who you are, and you become that person. Then you leave the house after high school or after college. You're in your 20s. Now you got to define yourself again. Now nobody else is telling you who to be. So you got to redefine yourself. And so you go right to society for what do they want you to be. And then you start doing that. But then you hit your 30s, 40s, and even 50s, and you start looking around saying, screw society. What do I want? And that's where we end up. Lynn, you're going to be happy about this. Look who's joining us.
Theodora.
Theodora.
Thank
Love
you.
My friend.
Mary, we're going to have Theodora on the show because she is really excellent. I haven't told Theodora yet. So Theodora, you're going to be on the show.
Now I know.
Because she helps people financially. And sometimes that's a big concern with changing your life is how can you be secure when you do that? She's the kind of person we need to help us. A couple other comments that I want to hear what Lynn has to say. Edie saying exactly, it is hard to get unstuck, but it is possible. We have to.
Right.
The only one stopping any of us from getting unstuck is ourselves, I believe. Sandy says, learning and growing are so important at any age. And ladies, you are gorgeous. Scott is too. Ha ha ha. All right. Well, I might have Theodora on the show. I don't know.
Thank you, Theodora.
Thank you. I tried.
I love the fact that you have this show going, because the sad thing is, sad commentary is, there's a lot of miserable people with the wrong partner, and they are so stuck, and they realize, well, I know this crap. I'm going to stay right here. But your life doesn't have to suck. Your relationship, I mean, that with your best friends with Teresa. I mean, like people don't understand that if something doesn't work because you guys have grown different ways or values and things, it's better to leave amicably and move on than to sit there and be miserable. And yet all they do is sit there, how you day? Oh, well, and they did the same thing and the same fights. And it's like, and then I love it because, I mean, I am very intuitive, but this really isn't rocket science, people. And I'm going to tell you, I listen to a lot of people. And then when they come, Lynn, I got something to tell you. I say, oh, let me guess. And I tell them, they're like, how'd you know? I said, because you were sitting there professing you'd never do this, this, and that. And you did everything you said you wouldn't do. So, I mean, really, I'm not psychic. I just listen and realize that you just doomed yourself. So be careful what you say to yourself. Be careful what you judge of other people. relationships, because I think that's what a lot of people do, is say, I want this relationship or that relationship, or I think this is going to be perfect. And yet you really, you're at that beginning stages, and that's all, all perfect, seems great. But, after a while, the shit hits the fan and you see things you don't like. And how much crap are you going to take before you move on? That, and then you're in the same cycle and realize that the grass isn't as green, or is just as green here or not as your next door neighbor.
Lynn, I gotta say, because I know you only got a little bit of time with us today.
Oh, yeah.
And I appreciate you coming on, because again, this is all born from I was podcasting here in Florida. Lynn was podcasting out in Montana. We hadn't seen each other in how long?
38 years.
38 years.
Yeah.
And I had a show called Live Out Loud, and
Yep.
she had a show called Live, Love, and Laugh Out Loud.
Yeah.
And it was like, how did that happen? That we had those two shows, and then we reconnected, and now podcasting is. But how did Lynn? How did you go from wanting to be a state trooper in New York to being the queen of podcasting? Or building that right now is what you are.
Yeah.
How many changes did you have to go through to get there? It wasn't just like one decision and your life changed. You had to make a lot of decisions, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to be a cop. I wanted to be a cop since I was, I think, probably about 15, and was bodybuilding and lifting weights and all that stuff. Got accepted. I was married. My husband at the time, he lied about his eye exam and didn't get in. And we had a little girl, and 9 months later, I was actually in the financing. If you didn't pay your car, I kind of took your car because you didn't pay it.
Repo. You can
no,
say
I didn't repo. No,
lady.
I didn't go out and repo. I had the repo man come and I'd find you, but the repo man would come and get you. Anyways, okay. and then I went into I was a store detective. I was a peace officer in New York, and then I was going into law enforcement.
Wait, which store in New York?
Why were you? No, at Sibley's.
Okay, I don't think I ever stole anything from Sibley's.
Yeah, downtown, and then in Fairmount. But anyhow, so the point was I wanted to get in law enforcement. I was going to be New York State Trooper / correction officer, both, because I speak Spanish, so the bilingual. So it was a really good intro offer and everything. But then my ex-husband, he didn't get in, and we had a 9-month-old daughter, and that just got really hairy scary. But it got hairy scary enough that I got drugged behind a vehicle. He kidnapped my daughter, and it was like time to just leave the state. And I stayed into collections and financing and things like that. And then next thing you know, I met somebody that lived in Maryland, lived there 2 years, and he's like, I want to get you away from your ex and everybody else. So let's go out to Montana. So we moved out to Montana, and out here, while he had a job, he actually got fired. He's like, you need to help, or you need to get a job or something. So I ended up opening up my own lingerie and adult toy business for 15 years in Billings. So that was another career choice I did. And then, and then I had health issues along the way and stuff, and all my traumatic stuff from when I was younger came out, and I dealt with a lot of that stuff. And so it was nice to move away, because in high school and in elementary, we moved a lot of, I wrote a book about it and stuff, but a lot of stuff happened in my life. And so the biggest thing is that I love interviewing people as opposed to being on shows. And I'm going to be on a show, Christopher Rausch's tomorrow, with my partner from my other host, Brian Kelm, Raw and Real. And the thing is that I'm an introvert, and I'm usually really, really, I'm like shy and don't want to be the limelight. I love having a co-host. And Mary, you're going to love having a co-host, because you don't feel like the eyes are always on you. But, I just turned 57, and 57 is kind of a big number for me. My brother died at 57. My ex-husband, my kid's dad, died at 57. And my uncle died at 57. And so this year I've got health issues I'm challenging with. And so I'm just blessed every day. And this year people are going to actually get to know the real Lynn Eileen. And, because I think you get older and wiser, you just don't give a shit. You just say how it is, and you just call people out. And so, I I love peace in the world. We need more peace in the world. But, you know, we got to stand for something or you don't stand for nothing. And I'm just at that point where I want to stand, but tell people we don't need to be gaslighted. I'm the one who explained that to Scott, I think a year ago, what gaslighting meant.
I had
But
no idea. I had no
Yeah,
idea. I
yeah.
thought it was like, I've had gas before, but I've never heard it
But
called
I hope
that.
you talk about that on the show too here, because it is
Yeah.
a big issue with people don't realize that a lot of people mentally manipulate you for staying stuck or staying miserable. And so I'd love to come back on that topic sometime, because
Absolutely.
it really
Absolutely.
is freaking important for people to know that when people are turning things around, but you and this and that, let me just say this. They say the first person that speaks is going to win, so to speak, in this regards. If I say, hey, Scott, I have something to talk to you about, and I tell him my feelings, for him to come and like defend himself and it be about his feelings, no, wait, I started it. It's my feelings. So when you get pissed off and you whatever, and you don't hear my feelings, you're being gaslighted. I mean, they're
Yeah.
turning it around, making you feel like shit for bringing up a topic that bothers you.
And making
And-
you believe that you don't have any validation and that it's not real anyway.
Yeah, and it's bullshit. So really, it's really important to know that, you know, the life between all is nothing is correct. Because if you're dealing with somebody that cannot hear that you are sharing your feelings, and I'm an introvert and I normally don't share my feelings, but when I finally share my feelings with you, I'll listen to you and everything, but I'm just about done. I'm just about done. And that's how I am. But now no more. Now it's going to be less offense, you know. And that's because I was a peace officer. It's always the thing of you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you. So therefore, I'm always careful of what I say because I don't want it against me. So with that said, it's really important for you to know that stand up for yourself. But know that if you stand up for yourself, you stand by your words. Don't be rude and hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
But remember it from your perspective of your feelings. If they infringe, if you know, I'll give you an instant without I don't think she'll watch a show, but a sibling of mine calls me and she texts me happy birthday with my real name on it. Yeah, I got pissed off because she already knows she shouldn't have done that.
You changed your name for a reason.
Exactly. And she knows why, and she's part of it. So what I'm saying is when somebody knows there's a trigger that you have and you've explained and they understand and they use it as a joke or against you, they're not your people. Go run away. Go find your tribe. So anyways, I got all passionate about that.
I love
I'll
it.
tell you, you got Edie Polly just on target, blown away. This is so clear. You've nailed it for her.
Thank you.
I got to acknowledge my friend Chris Tilley is on here. Scott, your help at Beachcombers, listening to music I haven't listened to in 20 years, really brought and brings me out of a funk. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I teach people to use music
Yes.
when they feel stuck, when they feel in a bad place. Use music. It's a great way to lighten the mood and everything else. I've noticed the sad times in my life, I did not listen to music.
But also remember to change the trigger on those old music. You can listen to it again, but you know, that'll be a good topic for you sometime to revisit it with.
Well, we're going to do a show. Triggers. We trigger ourselves sometimes to
Yeah.
stop ourselves from doing things. The trigger isn't the action of what the trigger is. The trigger is the reaction.
Right.
And changing how we react to things is what's important.
But that's what people know.
Yeah. You made a lot of good points. Mary, when you were going through all those changes, whether it was with work or with marriage, how important was it to have good people around you at those times? I mean, when you are feeling that stuck, and to have the forgive me, to have the balls to make a change. How important is it to have good people around you?
It's extremely important because I'm very lucky to have a very amazing group of girlfriends who were there for me. But there were a lot of people in my life that I expected to be there for me who weren't. They didn't agree with my decision. It didn't fit their script of, you know, my role of whatever play that they're in. I had a role and I had a script, and I was breaking out of that script. So it was very important to have the support. And Lynn, you mentioned something when you were talking just now about those people are not your tribe. And I know sometimes it's hard to cut people out of of your life when they're not your tribe, but you can minimize if you have
Yep.
to. If it's family, you can minimize. And then we're actually here today because I went looking for more of my tribe. And I went looking on Clubhouse to find my tribe. And my tribe in coaching, because I'm a coach. I wanted to see, okay, what are other coaches doing? I don't know a lot of other coaches. And I got on there and I met our friend Christopher Rausch, and you're
Yep.
going to be on his show tomorrow, Lynn.
Yep. My little brother.
And he helped me. He really helped me find my voice on Clubhouse, because I think I went into his room, I don't know, 3-4 times, tried to bring me up. I didn't want to come up and talk. Eventually I did. And now I actually co-moderate his room on Clubhouse, two rooms. And so, you know, through him, then I found Lynn, and I found your laugh. And, you know, when you talk about music, Scott, you know, helping you change your state and helping you come out of a funk, Lynn's Thursday show is one of those things for me. It's something I look forward to when I can make it, so I can listen to her and to Brian, and I love that. So going back to your original question, yes, finding your tribe is very important, and it's not always going to be the people that you expect, and that's okay. That's okay.
And you know,
Lynn, before you say anything, Edie's asking how she can find your other shows, because she really wants to learn more about you. So she can go to YouTube and put in Lynn Serrano, just as it's on the screen.
Or Google.
Or Google.
Just, my name, and you'll see all my shows, and I'm direct there. And it's also, you can click on my Facebook page and follow me there. Christopher Rausch and I met because we were both mods in Fort Riley. Modded us. We were
Look at that.
in Fort Riley. Yeah, I've got some connections. So and that's going on 2 years now. It's like, I don't even know where the time goes, you know?
Wow.
But it's great when you find your tribe, when you really realize that you're not as crazy as some people wish you, or they say you are, and you actually figure out that there are people that think like you, or understand you, or relate with you. It's refreshing, and it's great to know you don't need to keep, you don't need to keep convincing someone that's not ready to be part of your life, or demand so much. When a relationship isn't equal, that's when you got to realize that's not your people. I mean, you can love them, whatever. I mean, shoot, I went to 3 different middle schools, and then a different high school. And I mean, then I graduated a year early, because we should have graduated together, but I graduated a year early. And so the quick little story about that is Scott and I met when I was 6th grade. We were 12 years old. Then he moved, I moved, all that.
Street. What was the name of that street?
Sealy.
That's
Sealy.
Right.
And so then what happened was when he moved and I moved, and then I decided to go to summer school, but so that I can graduate early. And here it was, my so-called 11th, 12th grade year. And it was parents' night. And I go in the auditorium because I was part of stage manager and assistant director and all that fun stuff. I go in there, and I left for real quick. And I guess the teacher said, "Oh, and that's one of our students that, direct the plays and blah, blah, blah." And then I came back, and the teacher said, "There's somebody here who says they know you." Go, what? And he gets up from the audience, from the seat, and I looked at him. I'm like, "What are you doing here my senior year?" So it was October. He didn't have a locker. They were out of lockers. And we'd see each other, hug each other, give each other a kiss. And he'd go do his thing his way. I'd do my things my way. And that's how I spent my 11th, 12th grade year, just hooking up and seeing him every day.
We shared a locker in sin.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So, but Scott was so sweet. Back then, he used to call himself Sir Walter Scott.
Really?
Yeah. So
I have business cards made up with
and he
Sir
was
Walter
so
Scott.
sweet because
she still has one of them.
Yeah, I do. It's in my yearbook. He stapled it in my yearbook. So, hello. And it was so cute because he was the kind of guy that buy a lot of carnations and give them to half the girls in class. And stuff. He was just such a sweet guy. I don't know whatever happened, but just kidding.
Yeah. I think the term at the time that was used was whore. But let me explain a little bit about some of those things, though. I mean, some of
Yeah.
those things I was doing, creating new names and buying all the flowers and doing all that.
Mhm.
It's because I didn't have a really good sense of self through most of my life. And so I was constantly trying to create a character. I was
Right.
trying to create
Mhm.
something. I think we could all say we found ourselves, and I'm sure all of our listeners would agree, we found ourselves in those places where we look in the mirror and say, why am I doing the things I'm doing? I feel like I'm just acting. I feel like I'm
Yep.
just, it's kind of that fake it till you make it.
Yep.
Oh, terrific. Theodore says, wow, I didn't know Scott can blush. Yeah, I'm blushing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a fever right now. That's all. I'm sick.
Whatever.
But we find ourselves where we're stuck. We feel like we're acting in someone else's life.
Yeah.
You look around, it's like, I know this is not who I'm supposed to be. And we always talk about people being authentic and finding their true selves. But one of the things is not many people tell you, how do you do it? You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to be me today, if you've never met you. But what we do recognize, and we all have done this, we recognize, we get up, we look around and say, this is not me. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, I've discovered through music, through recovery, addiction recovery, through helping other people, through art, and a lot of other things, who I am. And also, a lot of that has to do with being alone for a period of time, too.
And that's important. I'm proud of you that you had that alone time, because now you know.
I think all
Scott
three of
better.
us are doing that in some way, growing through being alone, right? I mean, how much have we all learned about each other? And how much have you learned about yourselves over these? I know we've all had a period of time where we've been single. How much do you learn about yourselves if you truly embrace that as not being a bad thing?
No, because you can admit to yourself there's hardcore things that you at this point in life that you say, I will not, if I don't have this in a relationship, I can't be in that relationship. I'm not going to be with somebody that's going to gaslight me. I'm not going to be somebody that doesn't hear me and then still continue to do the same thing that I don't like. I mean, these are the hardcore things that you're saying, I've done that. I'm not going to be in that kind of relationship.
Don't you guys learn as well that all the things we've always looked for in other people are things that we can give ourselves?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem
Definitely.
is a questionnaire. I mean, how many times, Mary, being a coach, you ask people private questions and they don't, and I will admit this, not until I think last year, 2 years, I never had a favorite color. Why? Because I never asked myself, what's your favorite color? But if you don't ask yourself the questions, you don't freaking know how to answer them. You're like, who the hell have I been living with all along?
You know what? We're going to do a show on questions to ask yourself to get to know yourself.
That's a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah.
Because I talk to adults all the time and I say, what makes you happy? And you know what they do? They stop and they think about not about what their answer is, but what is the right answer.
Yeah.
So they try to come up with the right answer. Ask a 5-year-old what makes you happy. The kids don't hesitate. Pizza, ice cream, boogers, farts. They don't care. They just tell you what makes them happy. Adults, we have no freaking idea.
Especially moms, especially stay-at-home moms that don't get a chance to fraternize with human beings other than, the little ones that are, bigger human
what
beings.
Did you give birth to? Puppies? That's a
yeah, yeah, exactly. I was making sure you paid attention to what I was saying. You see, he was. So, it's just really important. And the bottom line is let's not forget, not everybody knows these answers either, because everybody's so busy with the outer world. You don't spend time, we forget we die by ourselves. We were born by ourselves, unless you're a twin, but still one twin came before the other. I mean, come on now. The bottom line is go ahead.
Edie Sharon, she says, I just went over this and asked myself and couldn't come up with it. She doesn't know what makes her happy.
Yeah.
And Mary, it's not a strange thing. A lot of people out there don't know.
It's not. No, and they don't know. And it's because I think a lot of people live by other people's expectations, as I said of myself earlier. And it took me a while to find myself and start asking myself those questions before I became a coach. I had to figure out who I was. And, in some ways, I'm still figuring that out. I'm still building out that picture of myself. And I think it doesn't end. I think that it's just really hard sometimes to look at yourself in the mirror. Because if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're looking in your eyes, and you're not recognizing that person, that's part of it. That's part of it, I think.
Well, and I hope you have there's a list of topics I can give you guys for this group. It's great. But including the fact that what we don't realize is when you don't like something or you do like something from someone, you're looking in the mirror. That's like your sign. And we miss that so much. We miss that so much. And so, we get sick. People say, oh my gosh, where's my keys? Now, 20 minutes of being, just so that neurologically, and I'm not going to get all scientific here, but technically, if you panic 20 minutes, you can't do shit for 20 minutes. I mean, literally. I mean, where's my keys? You can't find that. But if you calm down and you're like, okay, can I find my keys? They were right in front of you, right there. Yeah. Same thing goes if you argue with someone, wait 20 minutes. While they're pissed off, you ask them what color is their shirt, and they'll go, it's pink, but you ask them later, oh no, it's really whatever. You can't agree with somebody when they're in that state.
Theodora says helping others makes us all happy. We just have to admit it, recognize it, and do it. I will agree with you 1,000%, as long as helping others isn't what defines you,
right?
But it enhances you,
right?
If our activities define us, then we're relying too much on those. But if it enhances who we are, the core base has to be okay no matter what you're doing. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, the foundation. Yeah.
Well, good example. And this is what I think for Theodora. Like, Theodora came from Romania. Okay.
Yeah.
So Theodora made friends and had Romanian friends in Denver. And I'm butchering this up, Theodora, so I apologize. But the gist I'm getting here is, when she saw somebody of her country here helping her, when you have somebody helping you, when you're oblivious to the new world and the language and whatever, I'm using this as an example, all of a sudden you're grateful because you love your life, the language. She has happiness now because she knows she had no idea of what's going on. But when people in your life have helped you and you've turned the corner because other people have cared or invested in you, I think once you realize you're so grateful, one, you're doing it in honor of the person that helped you. Like if Scott helped me with something, I'd be in honor of that. And then once you start helping other people, you're like, wow, I know the endorphins, that the dopamine that Scott gets from helping me, because now I'm getting it. And that's a healthy way. That's a healthy way to give back, like giving back to your community. But then it's also healthy to realize to give is one thing, and it's harder to receive. Like, I'm not very good with compliments. Half the time I forget to say thank you. I'm really bad at that. I'm super bad at that. But I love complimenting everybody. I love telling them they're beautiful in my life and all that. But I have a hard time receiving that, and I'm working on that. But that's what I'm saying. But when you see the beauty in other people, you just, Mary, I just see the beauty in you all the time. I love you dearly. You. And it's just, and I know Scott like the back of my hand, and I love him dearly. So, it's just when you are open to love and understand people and their imperfections and everything, and you realize that you can appreciate your own flaws, life is so much better. But you're right. You've got to accept who you are first in order to be happy with what you do on the outside.
I think you know me like the back of your hand because you had to backhand me once or twice. Yeah. That's why.
Yeah.
When we were kids, what do you want? So I'm hoping the purpose of the show is getting clear for everybody. Edie's just throwing comments out there, and I appreciate it really. And she's doing all this stuff with her art and everything, and she's 66. And that's really, you're kind of in our neighborhood. We're all in the same neighborhood with age. And it doesn't matter. It's about change. You know what? Somebody's really smart told me one time, is like, how do I know when I'm done learning? And he said, if you're still breathing, you're not done. Yep. If you're still breathing, you're not done.
Love it.
Edie saying, this gave me so much validation. Well, you need validation.
Aww.
You need validation.
Anytime.
And
eating.
that's what Lynn was talking about, is having a
Uh-huh.
tribe of people who will validate what you're doing. Now, if you're going to do something monumentally stupid, you also count on your friends to say, hey, you might want to think about that.
Yeah.
You know, because there was many times I was thinking, like, if I jump my motorcycle over this ravine, and they're like, no, because you don't know how to jump motorcycles. Don't do it.
Yeah.
There was many times that I've had friends intervene, but I need people to step in and also build me up. I need people and only positive people. Now, here's the thing. If I'm a negative person towards myself, I cannot surround myself with positive people because they will not be attractive to me and I will not be attractive to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with us. It starts with us. If you want your life to change, it's up to us. It's up to you as an individual to change it. If you're waiting around for somebody else to come along and rescue you, then you may as well just wear a t-shirt that says victim for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not doing anything for yourself. Ron says, life is an endless journey of learning about you. This is your friend,
Yeah.
Mary.
This is my friend. And Ron, he's grown so much since I met him. I think we met, it's been almost a year now. And the growth that I've seen in him has been amazing. So I just wanted to acknowledge Ron for that growth. And he's still going, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
Has there? Let's just bring this to a question because Lynn, I guess you're going to stick around for the show. I'm glad you are. And you may as well. You may as well on our inaugural
this
show.
This is worth it.
Sandy's throwing something in here. Recovery from addiction or other disorders, including mental health, I guess, allows us to discover who we are and what we want in our life. And the funny thing is we're all addicted or programmed or just in a habit of doing certain things over and over again, whether we like it or not. And breaking the cycle of your bad habits, of your bad place, that's what we're talking about. So what I want to ask all of us is, was there a moment in your life when you started to discover I'm capable of more than I thought? Is there like a moment that we could share with people, where it's like, maybe I'm more than I thought I was, because that's what we're talking about here. Lynn, you want to share something?
Yeah. Most of all, what people watching and all of us will know, sometimes we don't know what we're capable until we have no other choices. And so sometimes it's you're against the wall and you have no other choice but to try something different, because nothing's going to change unless you change something. So everyone can think about that and know a time in their life. And then when you did it and it's in your rearview mirror, you're like, shit, I did get through that. When you actually fan through the different parts of your life and you say, wow, I did go through some shit, and then you realize half the stuff we put in our lives, we feed the flame. We feed the drama in our lives. It comes in with excuses. It comes in with you're looking for that. You're looking and thinking about the wrong things. It's hardcore look at the mirror time and realize that that's why I say, it doesn't matter if you don't think you can or you can't. You won't know until you try it. And then that's the time you just say, hey, that my thing here is I can and I will. That's my screensaver.
Love it.
The bottom line is try it. You might like something. Try it. Don't live vicariously through everyone else. Yeah. Feel and see and sense what it means to you. I mean, it's just like if somebody recommends, a movie or something. Sometimes I like to watch it because I put on the eyes. If Scott says watch this, I'm like, okay, I'm watching this in Scott's eyes and go, okay, that he thinks that's funny. Okay, that's not funny. As opposed
like some people like Monty Python. They're wrong, but some people do.
Calling me out. I love Monty Pythons. I love it. And I know you had the same reaction.
Yeah.
Not so much.
My daughter's commenting. She says, I've always felt you can't find yourself. You have to create who you are. It's a slow, ever-changing process. And and I believe that's partially true because you have to experience life to figure out where you fit in life and what really works for you. So in a sense, that is true. You're creating as you go.
let me just say this.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Life and yeah, The Secret talks about this too, but seriously, life or any book, reading a book, we encourage kids to read books. Why? Because they leave their life and they're going into fantasy worlds and all these different things, but life is a catalog. I mean, everything you see out there, you can pick and choose what you want.
That's right. That's right.
It's like the color forms. I'm showing my age. Back in the day, you'd have these little girls and then you change their clothes. You know what I mean? Like
I had the Batman color forms. We used to use those.
Okay, whatever.
That's so funny.
I know you know what I was talking about, though.
Hey Scott, you must convert. Monty Python is good for you. Sorry, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
You know what? You've been a great listener so far. Don't ruin it by trying to sell me on Monty Python.
Oh, so
Mary, I want to know: have you had that moment like Nicholas, where you discovered maybe I'm more than I thought I was?
So I've had many of those moments.
Yeah.
The most recent one was during the pandemic. So early 2020, March, could have been April, May, probably around May, a couple of months into the lockdowns that we were having. And I had a little more time to think. I wasn't commuting to the office. I was working from home. And I remembered somebody told me back when I was 19, 20, that I couldn't write, that there's no way you can make money as a writer, because that was one of my dreams when I was 19 or 18, 19, 20, because I had spent most of my childhood buried in books, buried in the fantasy, buried in the creativity. So in 2020, when I had that a little bit of time to think, that came back to me and that dream came back to me. And there was a moment when I thought, why can't I? Why? There's no reason why I can't. I can be a writer. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. But long story short, I went down that path and I tried to envision something way off in the future and then forget about that thing in the future and figure out the steps in between and work on those steps in between. One of those steps was writing on medium.com. So I did that first. I self-published and then I approached publications on there and said, hey, can you publish this? So I had a couple of rejections, but I did eventually get published. And then recently this year, because one of my really big dreams was to publish for a magazine. And I met someone named Jock Brokus through Christopher Rausch, through Clubhouse. And he gave me the opportunity to write for not one, but two of his online news magazines. And so I've been published there this year, and
wow.
There's lots more coming. But it took that moment of me understanding, bringing that dream back out from the caverns of my heart, because I buried it, right? People told me I couldn't do it.
Yep.
And doing what I needed to do to make it happen, because there was no reason why I couldn't make it happen.
Yeah. The funny things we tell ourselves.
Yeah, we adopt those people's words. It becomes part of that panel of speakers in our head. They take that role, and then they're the ones that are always nattering in our ear. When you think, oh, I want to do something, then the other one comes in.
Can I have you guys ever just listened to Wade Dyer, and he talks about labels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I think the older I get, the more I say, I care less for labels, because it defines that thing and it molds it to a form. And I'd rather everything not have a form.
Theodora says, especially when these people are our parents. I think she's speaking to you, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens. And I think there's cultural differences too, right? I come from a big fat Greek family, and we have certain ideas about what girls do and what boys do and what neither doesn't do. I went down that path of adopting those beliefs as my own, not realizing that I could shed them at any time. And those are, other moments that I shed those beliefs.
That's what this
like
is all
skin.
about.
Like skin, yeah.
That skin thing is so gross.
It's layers.
Man. That is so gross.
It's layers.
It's so true.
That is. You know what? If you have a mattress that's more than a couple years old and you go to lift it, it's like almost double the weight it was when you bought
Gee, I
it,
wonder why.
and it's all filled with dead skin.
Yeah.
Just think
Ew.
about that.
Yeah.
I know, it's so freaking gross. It's got
I
a
didn't
roof
go
on
down
myself
that
every
road.
night before I lay down.
I didn't go
Oh
down
my
that road.
God.
You did.
Edie Paz says shedding shedding these beliefs,
yeah.
very cool. Yeah. And we do shed them because we wear them. We wear people's
them.
beliefs around us. And as we grow, we start to shed those and adopt our own. Now, sometimes they are in line, and culture sometimes keeps those in line. And sometimes it's the way your family structure keeps those in line. And they do stay in line. But if you don't develop your own being, your own self, and do those things and take these chances and have these moments. And Mary, you're right. I mean, I've had 1,000 of these moments where I was like, I can't believe I could do it. Whether it was when I picked up a paintbrush and I never painted before, and I'm like, my God, this is a passion that I never knew I had. And it's such a passion that it's like having that locked inside of me and never using it. It's like, wow, how much of my wife did I waste? How much of my life did I waste not feeling that feeling? And it's like so incredible. But this all
And those
brings
are
me
your
around.
paintings.
But-
Those are your paintings in the back, right? Sorry to interrupt you, but those are your
those are the
paintings. I want people to know
Absolutely.
that. Beautiful.
Theodora's going to be leaving us soon. Love you guys. Great show. Theodora, thank you
Bye,
for joining
Theodora.
us.
Love you.
Ron says, finding the real you is unprogramming what society has turned you into. Well, our families turned us into it, our schools turned us into it, and our society turns it into us. Our Saturday morning cartoons turned us into it. You know, I wanted to be one of the Wonder Twins when I was a kid. I wanted to be Superman and Batman, and nobody ever said that who you are is just who you're supposed to be, you know? So that was really tight to get out of that. It felt constricting.
You know,
Mhm.
let's
The,
not
the
forget-
point we're at now is that, you know, we talk about writing. Your book is your book. Your life is your book. And you're the one who are writing the chapters now. The first couple of chapters were pre-written for you. They were written by your parents because we didn't know how to pick up a pen. We didn't know how to make decisions. We didn't know anything. But as you grow and into your teens and into your 20s, you start picking up the pen. And how your life goes, you're writing the book now. If you don't like the way the last chapter ended, when you start the next chapter, start with something different. Why would you start with the same material that you didn't like in the last chapter? You know, writers are doing this all the time. If the book sucks at the beginning, you try to have a great ending.
nobody gonna watch the beginning, but okay.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. It's tough. But we are in control. And the more you put control in the hands of your spouse or your family or your job or your friends, the more you put control of your life in their hands, the more miserable you're guaranteed to be. But if you take control and decide this is the life that I want to live, I'm writing this. And even if I'm not doing the perfect job, even if I'm not in the perfect relationship, I can make changes that make things work for me. Or I can make big changes and say it's time to try something different. But know that you're in control. We're supposed to, you know, we're talking about people being stuck later in their life. Later in your life, you got more knowledge than you've ever had before. This is the time to make the change. When you make a change in your 20s, you may as well just roll the crap dice because we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Well, can I just say though, you got to
Please.
realize that a lot of things are out of your control. And when you realize that, that's half the battle.
But
What
what's out of
you-
your control, Lynn? I mean, let me ask you, what is that's out of your control?
All the people's effects of what you from your decisions and what other people are doing. What's in control is our thoughts and how we react to it. That's what we're in control of every situation, is how we react to the situation we're in. Now, if you tell somebody your feelings, you got to realize you shared your feelings, but what's out of your control is their reaction. So
Right.
you can't control that. That's out of your control. What your control is your internal thoughts, not what Scott said or Mary said or Lynn said. It's how you digest the food you eat, so to speak. You know, that's what's
Actually,
in control.
On this show, I am in control because I'm engineering, not you. I can shut you
I
off.
know that.
I just realized that I'm in control. No, Lynn, you're absolutely right.
Oh,
If
I
my
just-
focus is on what everyone else is doing and I feel like it's out of control, you're right, it is. what everybody else does. But my life and what I do is completely within my control, completely.
Right. But
And-
that's where a lot of people, when they realized they had the control, they didn't understand what kind of control that meant. And I
Well,
think
it's
that's
about-
where a lot of people
yeah.
got stuck.
Those are the same people
You know.
that say, if I could just win the lottery, my life would be better. They want
Exactly.
they want outside things to make them better. If I meet the right man or meet the right woman, my life will be better.
Exactly.
If you can't make it better for you,
Right.
then it's never going to get better.
Right.
My mom made a great point here. She says, if you dislike what you're painting, paint over it.
Exactly.
Ooh, I
you
love
have
that.
the brush. If you
Mhm.
dislike what
Love
you're painting,
that.
paint over
Right.
it. And trust me, the art behind you, or behind me, the art, very few of those were painted once. They were painted, and then I had to paint over a section and change that section, and paint over a section and change that section. The paint is pretty thick on a few of these suckers back here, but I had the control to change it to what I wanted it to be.
Right.
And guess what? It's hanging on my wall. I don't care what anybody else thinks of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to buy them, they are for sale.
But if you take one of those paintings and you give it to somebody, then it's out of your control.
Now, Edie's sharing. We got about 4 minutes left, folks.
Okay.
My sickness is wanting to control other people's responses.
No, that's not good.
I think we all have fallen into that before.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's another show topic for you guys.
That's a
That's
whole
another
nother
show
show.
topic.
That's-
Yep. A
But
whole other show.
I wanted to be, I wanted to give that I wanted to say yes, control, but no control. And when you realize that there's so much out of control life, that's half the battle right there.
We're going to call that show Mind Your Business.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it. Love it.
Mind your business.
Thank you so much, you two, for having me on your first show. This has been
Oh, my goodness.
fantastic and an honor. I bless this show. I endorse this show. I love this. I love when I see other people that I collaborate and do things, because that's what we should do, you know. And my network is going to be Limitless Edutainment, and you definitely fall in that category. And so it's really an honor to know both of you, to love both of you, to bless this show. And thanks again for having me here.
Lynn, like I said, you connect so many people, and just you and I, we talked about, you had me on the show with Brian, over a year ago.
I had you with Christopher.
And and then all of a sudden we said, let's do our own show. And we started a little show, which turns out to be now a huge panel show of some of the country's best minds when it comes to coaching. It is a beautiful show. And now we're talking about doing another one where we can go back to some simpler things, but we're going to keep those alive. And now this is born from this because Mary and I met through one of the shows, and now we started talking. We knew we had a message to share. And
I won't forget that time, though, because she was commenting and stuff. And she goes, and who's this Mary Kay? I said, she's my friend, Scott. I'll never forget it. I will never forget it, too. It was hilarious. I just ousted you out on that. Who's Mary Kay?
We did a show. We were like, all right, is that your friend or my friend? It's like, you know what? They're both our friends now. They're both our friends now.
We are all connected.
That's
all share. Stop.
Okay, that's a different show. Let's stop.
This isn't the lunchroom. You don't get to hoard your lunch to yourself. You got to share with everybody.
and your guest or your audience here has been really great. And Edie, we are friends on Facebook, but you can reach out anytime. And thank you so much for your comments and stuff. I appreciate that.
Excellent. Well, I want to, let's have some final thoughts about again, we kind of introduced everybody to what we're going to be doing in the show. We really want to help people to get unstuck in their lives, to find themselves, to find their passions and follow their roadmap and write their story. Stop writing your story for everyone else. Start writing your story for you. Any final thoughts before we close, Lynn?
Final thoughts is, don't be afraid to reach out to Mary or Scott, or even me if you're one of my friends watching this, and ask the questions behind the scene. Don't feel like you have to ask them here, or the saying goes is, I'm asking for a friend works too, But sincerely, this will be a great show, but it's not great without your questions and topics. And these are nice things to talk about with other people, and and finding your tribe. So I think your guys, it's going to be fantastic. So thank you.
Mary, final thoughts. How do you feel about our first show together?
I think it was wonderful. And Lynn, I love you. And again, thank you so much for the connection, and thank you for being the first guest on our show. And final thought about our topic, I want people to know we believe in you. Sometimes when you're stuck, you don't have that belief in yourself. We believe in you. We are here to help you. As Lynn said, contact us offline anytime you want. Come here, ask questions, and we appreciate all of you.
Absolutely. And if I can end with anything, it's that please remember when you're looking at your life and you're looking at your situation, look down in your hand and you'll realize you're the one holding the pen. If you don't like it, rewrite it, do something different. And it's never too late to change. If you change and find happiness for 1 week in your life, it was worth the effort to make the change. So just don't ever stop trying. Don't ever stop learning about yourself. And certainly, like I say, every show, do one thing nice for somebody else, two things nice for yourself, and you'll never have a bad day. All right, ladies.
Love it.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
And all of our guests, thank you so much. Or our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. And all your comments, you guys make it worth doing the show. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on The Life Between All or Nothing.